And now, Patrick, you introduce it like, hey, Carl, you want to hear the new ad for Pulsar Security that my guys wrote up? Go ahead.
Hey, Carl, now that Pulsar Security is going to be sponsoring the podcast directly, you want to hear the ad copy that we came up with?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, get ready for this. In a world full of security challenges.
No. We can't say in a world.
Come on, that sounds perfect.
Like
you think we should?
It's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie
You
cliche.
think we should leave it open for services on Mars? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
you can't.
Okay.
All right, just go ahead and read the rest of it.
Can I say in a world or no?
Go for it. I don't care.
In a world full of security challenges, trust is everything.
Well, that's true.
At Pulsar Security, we are enabling organizations to thrive safely in an ever-changing digital world.
Yeah.
Our experts conduct cutting-edge cybersecurity services, ensuring your business stays one step ahead of threats.
All good.
Experience peace of mind as we deliver robust solutions tailored to your needs. Your security is our priority. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Choose Pulsar Security for a safer tomorrow. Visit us at pulsarsecurity.com. Empower your digital journey with confidence. Security starts here.
Okay. I like everything but
Okay.
in a world.
It worked for Batman.
I do like to
This
dress
is
dark and in
serious.
hoodies.
Now, this is serious stuff here, man. You're talking about keeping companies
We
safe.
do. Yeah, we are talking about that.
Like
don't wanna-
cyber superheroes. Come on, Carl.
Conjure up images of the Predator, you know?
Well, we should have done this from the start. So now we are officially
All right.
sponsoring Security This Week by Pulsar Security.
Well, good luck with your ad.
Thanks.
Hey, did you guys know I have a half-brother?
No.
I didn't know it.
Yeah. We're not allowed to play with chainsaws anymore.
Oh, just at least don't juggle them.
So, guys, before we get started, one Oscar Van Tall sent me a toot on the Mastodons. He says, what do you get if you put glitter on your network-attached nut runner? Pretty loose nuts. Well played, Oscar.
Well
played.
done. Well done.
Well, it's been 2 weeks, and geez, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, right? When you guys went
Undisclosed
wherever
location.
it is you went,
That's weird.
there was like this mega hack, the mother of all breaches.
Completely coincidental.
Oh my God.
Completely coincidental.
completely coincidental, Carl. You can't.
None of these
you
stories.
can't pin that on us.
You might, Rabbit. You might. All right. So we'll get to that at the end of the show. That's our clickbait. But let's jump into our good friends, the Russian hackers. They're in the news again. What happened?
So this one involves our good buddies at Microsoft, sadly. So Microsoft had warned on January 12th. Microsoft warned that some of their corporate email accounts were breached and data stolen by Russian state-sponsored hacking group known as Midnight Blizzard.
Wow.
This is an interesting attack because we always talk about you should always use multi-factor authentication, and there should all of these, even Office 365 has these amazing rules to say, hey, if I just logged in from New Hampshire, I shouldn't be logging in from Russia 10 seconds later because I'm probably not there. And lo and behold, it looks like a password spray attack.
What is that?
Which is literally just so password spraying is just brute force. It's like, hey, I know Carl works at Microsoft, so I'm going to try Carl and password. And then Carl and password 1.
Right.
And then Carl and password 2.
So you have a dictionary of
Right.
kind of like-minded
Use the top 1,000 passwords
that
and
might have been used.
iterate through them.
Yeah, and sometimes if they're targeting particular users, they'll do what's called a stuffing attack, which is, I know Carl uses this password on his Yahoo account. Maybe he uses it for his Microsoft account.
Right.
But in this case, it looks like it was just a straight up spray.
How about vodka 123 exclamation point? I bet that was in there.
A little foreshadowing, the mother of all breaches story, which is going to be our last story. That's how you'd get the feed for a password stuffing, is if, like, say you had a AOL account that was breached many years ago, it would probably be in there, and that password might be fodder for helping us stuff passwords that are more likely. So instead of a wild guess, it's an educated guess.
Right.
Okay.
So
All right. So, yeah.
just in this particular case, they were able to use this attack, which is a pretty simple attack, right? Password spraying is not hard to do. There's thousands of programs out there that will do it for you. I could give you tons of advice on how to bypass rate limiting and firewalls. Let's not talk about that stuff. But needless to say, they were able to breach an account, several accounts, but one of them was a test account, which always surprises me that there's test accounts out there. And then from there, laterally move their way into the organization.
Yeah, and so this article says that some senior leadership emails were compromised.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not good.
That's the most terrifying thing to me. Like if somebody got into Google, where my whole life is, like Google Drive. And, this is, I guess I'm giving away some, if you want to really screw with Carl, go for his Google account.
Right?
But good luck with that, because I change the passwords all the time.
Yeah.
With my
and multi-factor
password
authentication.
And multi-factor.
And just to be safe, I deleted all his emails.
And somewhere out there is rubbing their hands going, all right, Franklin, it's on. All right. So, yeah, the email compromise is the scariest thing about this. Yeah. And I don't know as if they could have gotten that by stealing hard drives or something. Like, this is just brute force, as you said, spraying passwords. So there really isn't anything that we can say we need to do except enable two-factor authentication and use a password manager and change your passwords often. All right, let's move on to Hi Meta, WhatsApp with privacy.
What's privacy?
I know, right? Facebook, synonymous with privacy, is having issues with one of their apps. Yeah. No, so WhatsApp, for those of you who don't know what WhatsApp is a communications platform. It's actually super popular, especially for calling internationally. We talk about, like, we use, I know the three of us use Signal, which is an encrypted communications app, right? Yeah. And WhatsApp got pushed into the privacy sector because it's been beaten up quite a bit. It's owned by Meta, which is Facebook's parent owner, right? So they now have end-to-end encryption, quote unquote, and everything's supposed to be fine. And everybody keeps coming to me saying, hey, WhatsApp gets a bad rep. And I continually see these stories, right? And this is why I say I wouldn't ever use this. Yeah. However, in this particular breach, a researcher discovered what they can do is actually discover information about linked devices to your account. And that's even if you've blocked them and they're not a contact of yours. It's just extemporaneous metadata that's associated with your account that clearly you can just make requests to the APIs and pull that information out. So the warning here is, it may be able to be used to profile your account a little bit more. Maybe types of devices you're using, that sort of stuff. Most of us probably have, even if it's just the name of the device. I mean, how many of you out there, your iPhones are named like John's iPhone? Right? And that's the name of the iPhone. Because most of us don't think of that. When you set the phone up, it says, what's your name? Yeah. But in the background, it names the phone your name, right?
Right. Sometimes.
So, there's a little bit of profiling that could be done there based on what they find.
This is stuff that would absolutely be found by a competent red team or a competent pen test of the app. Most people don't think about this, but apps, especially web apps and mobile apps, get pen tested. Most of our business, I'd say half of it, is a company wants to deploy a website and before they do, we take a look at it. We go through and make sure that it's what kind of attacks there are to it. And this is the kind of thing you'd find if you did that. So maybe they're not doing it, or maybe they need a better team.
I've got this great audio system that the band uses, and I use it in the recording studio as well, from PreSonus. And it's essentially a headless mixer you can control with an iPad. But one of the features of it is that it has 16 auxiliary outputs, which can go to headphone amps, so that the musicians can each use their phones to control their own headphone mix.
That's cool.
They want to hear a little less drums, a little more bass, a little less of me because I'm loud, that kind of stuff. But I have to authorize them when they connect, right? I have to go into a special screen and I see the list of devices and they're always iPhone, 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 iPhone. Like I'm the only one who says Carl's iPhone because I named it that, you know? So I have to actually be very careful that I don't give somebody access to somebody else's mix or else there's going to be chaos on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that would be considered, metadata around the user, right? What's the name of the device? Now, in this case, not super useful for you, but as an attacker, I might be able to use that. Well, heck, now I know the platform at least. I know it's an iPhone, right? So,
right.
Name it to Android.
Yeah.
You name it.
But it also can work to your advantage, right? Because if I know who you are, then I won't mistake you for somebody else and either take away your privileges or grant you privileges you shouldn't have.
Yeah, it's metadata is always double-edged because it's useful, but it's also useful.
Right.
Quick story. I was in Brooklyn a couple days ago visiting my brandy new granddaughter.
Congratulations.
Oh, nice. Congrats. Yeah.
Yeah. And granddaughter by marriage, right? So it's my wife's daughter's daughter. And it's her first. She's about a month old. So anyway, I'm walking around with the dad in Brooklyn. And we were talking about security of the subway cards, right? He's got a subway card. And you can use your phone. He says, and I don't know if that's a great thing that my phone knows where I got on the subway. It doesn't really know where I got off. And I had this thought that, this whole tracking thing might actually be able to work to your benefit. If you ever get accused of committing a crime and you're a suspect and you need an alibi, you can look at your metadata on your phone and say, oh no, I was here when the crime occurred. There's no way that I could do that. So what you're saying is, this sort of thing, privacy is important, but it can also work in your favor.
I mean, there's also cameras all around town that, there's receipts every time you buy something. It's getting easier and easier to be alibied.
Right.
Hell, just watching TV might be able to, like I changed channels. There may be metadata.
Yeah. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons when I was born, I decided to have a twin. Just built-in alibi, right? I'm just like, hey, listen, walk around town, be very visible, be the loud guy in the bar. I can go jam a device in a data center somewhere, and then none the wiser.
Just have a trained rat. Attach your phone to the rat and go. I was all over the town.
Or have a half.
He was hanging out at that dumpster for an hour.
Or have a half brother like me.
Yeah, it doesn't help you with the camera.
There you go.
Okay, let's move on. We have a lot of stories.
We do have a lot of stories today.
Trezor. What is Trezor? And this support site breach exposed personal data of 66,000 customers.
They are a crypto wallet, and luckily no one's crypto was stolen as part of the story, just their personal information. 66,000.
I know, yeah. Before you get all upset, the crypto bros start to worry. 66,000 users. It's anybody who has the Trezor device. Kind of looks like like a spade or
looks like the top end of a TV remote.
Weird triangle. I don't know. Yeah, or a microphone. But if you have one of these devices and you're using it to secure your crypto wallet, and you've gone to the support site since December of 2021, which 66,000 users have, then your username and email address have potentially been compromised.
Which could be used for a phishing attack, spear phishing attack. Hey, this is Trezor support. We have a problem. We're worried about your coin. We want to make sure that, we've protected it. We want to check a couple of transactions. Boom. You click on the wrong thing.
So just be careful. If you get an email that looks like it may have come from Trezor about your device, just double check what you're clicking on and make sure that you're not clicking on the wrong thing.
Why the heck do you have one of these things anyway? Come on.
Or you may lose all your cryptos. That'd be sad.
Yeah, it'd be sad. Okay. Court charges developer with hacking after cybersecurity issue disclosure. What is that all about?
So this is in Germany. A guy was trying to verify that an application was secure and working correctly. He was evaluating it for a customer. The vendor had the system connecting to a remote SQL server. So he decompiled the strings. He didn't decompile. Actually, I should be careful there. He got all the public unencrypted
Decoded.
strings out of the connect file, found a password, and connected to that database
Okay.
to see what it was doing.
What it was and what data is
and
there.
in so doing, he discovered there's a vulnerability. There's a big vulnerability in this software, and the company charged him. They got charges brought against him for hacking unauthorized access, and €3,000 fine was what he got, which was much less than the state was going for, and the company wanted him to get. So it was kind of a slap on the wrist comparatively to what it could have been. But it sets a really bad precedent. It's like, okay,
Absolutely.
you want your software to freely be victimizing your customers because this is a supply chain attack waiting to happen. And maybe people are already exploiting it, but he, tried to sound the bell.
But here's the thing. He found it. And, thank you very much. Here's your...
Right, exactly. I mean, if you were this software company, and
Call the cops.
this kind of pisses me off because there are plenty of times where we're testing a piece of software for a customer that is the lifeblood of their organization, and the
Right.
back end isn't necessarily managed by them, right? It's a piece of cloud software they've purchased or whatever it is. And we'll go in, we'll test it, we'll see what's up, especially if they have the web presence installed locally and then the database happens to sit in the cloud. And if we find a way to breach that cloud instance and steal all of their customer data, which is their data, right?
Yeah.
They should know that. They should know what the risk is. And what the software company is saying is, dude, what are you doing to my software? Well, you sell this software to customers, and those customers on your behalf at this point are paying for somebody who knows what they're doing to look at the software because you won't.
So,
Right.
And now you're gonna go
the crux
persecute
of the
that guy, which
problem
is
was
just absurd.
There was a password on the SQL server. It wasn't strong. It was in plain text in that executable. So they're saying, look, you might have Wi-Fi on your house, and if I get the hash, I can crack the password. If the password's simple, it's still illegal for me to connect to that network. I'm not allowed.
Yeah, but I still think it's absolute crap.
I get it, but that's what they're going
Because-
after is like, and what they said is that weak security does not give you the authorization to breach security. That the fact if my password's password 123, that doesn't give you the right to access my email. It's still illegal.
No, but if you're, let's say your company paid me to do a pen test, and you happen to have installed, I don't know, GoToMeeting,
Yeah.
on one of the boxes that's there, and maybe it's, I'm picking on GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting has no issues that I know of, but let's say you install GoToMeeting, and I find a critical flaw with GoToMeeting where I can go to their public website. And because I know, let's say, the ID of the system or whatever, because I've discovered it by breaching into that system, I now can gain control over that system. What you're saying is, oh, no, you can't actually do that through the GoToMeeting site, even though the software is installed there and you were paid to pen test it.
I'm saying the law is gray at best, and we need to be careful, and we need better laws.
What do you guys do when you pen test? Do you have
We argue a
do you
lot.
have extensive disclaimers? No.
I
mean,
talk a lot to
do
the
you
lawyers.
get your customers to sign disclaimers
Doesn't matter.
saying
It's
that
not
they
It's
can't
not the customers.
hold you
it's the vendors
accountable?
Oh, we
of the
do.
customers and we don't have a relationship with them.
We do. So what's interesting is exactly. So what we will do is we have signed agreements with our customers that say, hey, they're not going to hold us accountable for, any breaches that happen after we leave. We can't discover everything because that's impossible. If anything happens during the course of a pen test, then that causes issues in the organization, we're going to warn them beforehand if there's something risky. But if something happens, they can't hold us liable. Blah blah blah, whatever. Right. So
Right.
normal sort of contracting agreement. But above and beyond that, what we'll typically do with the customer is if they use a vital piece of software, let's say it's a point of sale system or a backup system or whatever it may be, we're going to pen test it because it's part of the organization. It's part of the critical infrastructure. But what we do is we have that customer who has the relationship with the software vendor, talk to the software vendor. Hey, I'm having a red team engagement done. I'm paying to have all of my property assessed, and you're part of it.
Right.
So I'm going to have them look at that software.
Right.
And most of the software vendors are thrilled with it. They're like, yeah, absolutely.
course.
If you find any findings, by all means, let us know.
Right.
It's only the companies who are caught flat-footed, who don't either know how to fix it, don't want to fix it, or like, why am I going to waste the time fixing this small thing, where they go, you know what, I'd just rather sue you.
Kill the messenger.
This wasn't a planned thing where we could show you something that's hyper secure, then go away, which is just...
Last word on this is, if this guy had found the password, saw that it would give him access, because that's what it's using for the connection, and then notified the company and said, look, I'm going to recommend that we no longer use your software because your database, I don't know what's in it, but it's unsecure, and I assume that our information is it. And I'm going to write a blog article about it, unless you prove to me that there's no danger in this.
So chances are, no, I think you still would be in trouble.
I didn't connect to it, and I didn't use the password.
No, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, all right. So I've been on pen tests, red team engagements, where I've taken a piece of software that a vendor had, and they wrote it in .NET. Now, we all know .NET super secure when it's compiled. Hell no. Right? All of us understand intermediary language. All of us can reverse it with something like DNSpy. And you go, there's a password, there's a password, there's a password. And you go to the vendor, and the vendor goes, oh, did you read the user clause that says nobody can ever reverse engineer our software?
Yeah. Good luck with that.
So you're now in breach. And it's like, well, that's software on my site that I paid somebody to look at, and now I'm in breach because you had poor coding practices. Shoot, you didn't even want to obfuscate your code, and now you're saying
that's an argument they can make.
Right.
That's an argument they can make. But this case came down to he accessed the site. If he hadn't accessed it,
I get it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is PR. If you just go to blog, you contact customer support and say, in 30 days I'm going to blog this and I'm going to release it.
Yeah.
They'll either fix it or they won't.
Or they'll try and sue you.
Unfortunately, we're in a very delicate business. We have to be careful.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So be careful out there, kids. Let's talk about our friend Elon Muskrat.
24 0 days.
So, first of all, now we know the answer to what has 4 tires, costs $100,000, and won't move in the cold.
Yeah, I know, right?
Did you hear that story?
Yeah,
all
Chicago.
These electric vehicles
in
Chicago, where it got below zero, they couldn't charge. It was taking hours and hours and hours to charge. They couldn't move. They couldn't, they could charge at home, but if you go to a charging station and you're there for 5 hours.
Oh, no, I didn't hear about that.
It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's not the story, though. The story is Tesla hacked 24 days demoed at a Pwn2Own automotive conference in 2024. So
yeah, I love Pwn2Own. It's like the Super Bowl of nerds, which is awesome. You watch these amazing teams like Synactive and NCC Group just come in and tear apart whatever the target is. And in this particular case, this was automotive, right? So they're looking at Tesla and trying to figure out what are the things they can do there. And to come up with 24 days is just amazing. It's really, really good. And I believe, if I remember correctly, reading this out, the total payout, because they go in and they're competing, right? So, and if you get, an exploit that meets a particular objective, I can shut down a Tesla, I can do whatever I want, right? That sort of thing. Yeah. They pay you out. And the total they paid out was a little over $1 million for all of these.
Is it amazing hackers, or is it crappy code, or some mix of the two?
I mean, you know what? It's always a mix in between. These guys are and gals are super talented at what they do, at understanding how systems are put together, tearing those apart, and then really kind of finding the weak parts in the armor. But it's also, developers are trained typically as developers first, and then that's it. They're not trained as security people. It's rare that you have a security person who is then trained as a developer, right? So a lot of times it's functionality. Okay, get it out the door. Now what's the next piece of functionality? It's never, okay, let's sit back. Let's design this in a secure way first, and then think about functionality. It's just not what people do. So you're going to find this in every application out there.
I'm glad they found it.
Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely.
I bet if you have a Tesla and you live in a cold climate, this is the least of your worries. But how concerned should you be about these things?
I think you should be concerned, right? The reason these competitions exist and the reason these researchers painstakingly go through reverse engineering of code and understanding secure paradigms and that sort of stuff is literally, I mean, the money's nice, but is literally to be able to bring this to the company and have them then fix it. And the fact that Tesla's participating in the Pwn to Own means that, you know, they're like, yeah, we want you to look at it. We want you to tear it apart. We want to find out what the issues are so that we can then make a more secure product, which, you know, good for them.
Yeah.
So if a patch comes out for your car, apply it.
Yes.
This one will be a big one.
Yeah. Should you be calling your dealer like weekly? Anything new?
Nah.
Anything new?
Yeah, I would say like if it were a small software company, yes. With the Teslas, they actually have a really good paradigm. Actually, all the Teslas have the ability to VPN back into the mothership and figure out whether they need updates and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of cool things.
Speaking of mothers, the mother of all breaches is coming up at the end of the show. You definitely want to hear that,
Absolutely.
right, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is Patch Your Go Anywhere MFT immediately. Critical flaw lets anyone be an admin.
Yeah, this is one of our weekly warnings. There's a patch available. That's the good news. The bad news is don't patch, and anyone who wants to be can be your admin. It's bring a hacker to be admin day.
First of all, Go Anywhere is a managed file transfer application, right?
Yep.
And so this flaw means that anyone can be an admin.
I think it used to be
Patrick
PC
said.
Anywhere, and it evolved over time.
Right.
So I don't know if their code base is super old and they're just kind of, working on it. But, the discovery was made from a couple of developers in Cairo. And the good news is there's a patch. But this is one of those things where if you're using it, you really need to be notified. There should be a notification system from the vendor that says, hey, we've got a patch and you need this patch right away. That's not a requirement. It happens.
Yeah.
Some good vendors will do that. But you also need to protect yourself by being educated and listening to Security This Week, and other sources so that you can know that these things, have patches and get them done.
Yeah, and the patch for this came out December 2023, and it's 7.4.1. So if you are using this, patch up to 7.4.1. And you should be good.
Cool. All right. And with that, we're going to take a quick break for some very important messages, and we'll be right back. And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin. That's Dwayne LaFlotte and Patrick Hines, the brainiacs behind this show. And I am your jovial host, Carl Franklin. Let's talk about some more jovial stuff that happened in the last couple of weeks. Critical Jenkins vulnerability exposes servers to remote code execution attacks. Patch ASAP.
No, Jenkins, no.
So if you don't use Jenkins, you can fast forward to the next story. But if you do, you probably want to hear about this.
Yeah. So in this particular case, if you are using Jenkins and you have a build system that involves Jenkins, you absolutely want to make sure that you apply a patch if you are using anything 2.441 or earlier. The potential consequences here: an unauthenticated attacker who successfully exploits an arbitrary file read vulnerability could gain remote code execution on your server. So this is an RCE, folks. This is definitely one of the ones you want to patch. The patch came out for this January 16th. So you want to go back and there were actually 2 more subsequent patches after that. So I would absolutely go out and patch.
Did you guys know that Jenkins was invented in the 80s and it was originally called Higgins?
I didn't know.
Was that from Magnum PI?
Looks like Higgins.
It does look like Higgins.
I know best Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, exactly. His cousin.
Played some while with him.
All right. Patch Jenkins.
AI
next
poisoning.
Story. AI poisoning tool Nightshade received 250,000 downloads in 5 days. Quote, beyond anything we imagined, end quote.
When we were talking about the list of things, this is the one where Dwayne's like, this is cool. So let's have Dwayne.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So this is
Dwayne.
actually really neat. I mean, as Carl Patrick and I talk about, AI and LLMs and, generative tools and, not only that, but then how do we break them? How do we get them to do things they shouldn't be doing? And we're starting to see this era of, copyright infringement and all sorts of issues with AI where, you can copy up, a Star Wars photo and ask the AI to create another photo that's very similar to what it sees. What's really neat about this tool is there's some researchers at Chicago University said, what we should do? Let's see if we can create a tool where artists can, in essence, watermark their pictures, their art. And when an LLM, when an AI sees it and tries to use it as the basis of a generation of new art, it can't. And, the hacker in me goes, how would you do that? And they found this actually really neat way. They started using sub-shading pixels. So pixels that are used for subtle shades that the eye can't see. And they shade it in an algorithm that makes it look like something else. So let's say I had a picture of a Ferrari. Right?
Okay.
And I had hand drawn it and it's beautiful, whatever. I can run it through Nightshade and Nightshade will shade some of the pixels so it looks like a giraffe, but your eyes won't see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have seen these. I've seen these pictures on Facebook, that says you think you know what you see, but stand back about 5 feet and all of a sudden this whole other picture comes in.
So can that be, is that a steganography technique?
So it can be, but the problem with using a steganography technique that uses visible pixels is the fact that it can be detected like Carl's talking about. Usually steganography, which is where we want to hide data inside of an image, that's usually used in pixels that have to do with like hue and static and all the stuff you're not going to ever see no matter what you change the values to. Because the problem is you're encoding data, right? And that data the entropy of that data can be so wild. It will change the visible pixels to a point where you actually would notice it. So steganographers will actually keep that data in sublayers that are never visible. The picture will be bigger, but you won't actually see it. In this particular case, they're actually modifying the visible pixels. So
what kind of watermark would one put? I mean, I've seen everything from pictures of John Lennon on a cityscape to, swans and things that are in a pond. Landscape thing, but what are these artists using it? What kind of watermarks are they putting on there? Like their signatures or their faces or what?
No, not at all. What you want to do is use a signature or watermark that is entirely different than what your picture is about. So let's say your picture, like I said, let's say your picture is a car.
So the AI gets it wrong.
Exactly. So you put a watermark of a flower in the background and nobody sees it except for the AI. It picks up those shaded pixels and goes, oh, this has got to be a flower, not a car. So all of the art it generates is some weird flower. And you're like, oh, that's weird. I gave it a car picture. Why is it giving me all these models? Yeah.
All right.
So it's really kind of cool.
So when it says AI poisoning tool, it's not that this is a hacking
defensive tool.
It's a defensive tool.
Yeah. I could
That's
see.
very cool.
I could see how you were confused because I was excited about it, but no,
by
it's
the end of the day. By the end of the day, it will be weaponized.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Give me a couple minutes.
Probably by one of our listeners, right? Clever people they are. All right, so that is something that you can go download, Nightshade.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say play around with it. It's kind of neat, especially if you're an artist and you're generating, original works. You definitely don't want those being pirated.
Okay. I don't know if you know this, but China has been in the news with the federal government. The FBI actually has been warning about nascent mega attacks from China, state-sponsored
on critical infrastructure
hacks. On critical infrastructure. And so this is like the strongest warning the FBI has ever come out with. That's not the story, but you're going to see, I think, a lot more Chinese hacks featured on Security This Week in the future. But this is one. So Chinese malware removed from Soho routers after FBI issues covert commands.
And we're not saying the trendy neighborhood in New
Yeah.
York. This is small office, home office routers.
Small office, home office. There's also a trendy neighborhood in London, right?
Some of them might be south
Right.
of Houston, but that's okay.
Maybe. Well,
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly,
wow.
Patrick.
Impressive.
Houston Street.
Um,
I was just there.
So these are Cisco and Netgear devices that are kind of end of life, older devices, still in use, still near critical infrastructure, and they've been infected. They're being used for botnets. So that's not uncommon. Heck, if you guys have been listening to Security This Week for what have we been doing in almost 3 years now? 2.5, 3 years. We've talked about routers and switches and firewalls getting infected time and time again with either bad passwords. I know one of our first episodes we talked about Mirai, which was all just default passwords, etc.
Right.
What's really intriguing about this is the fact that the FBI was given the ability to execute commands on devices that are not their own. So they actually went and went to the court, got they had an initial affidavit seeking authority from the U.S. federal court to say, yes, you can go as the FBI and go, in essence, log into these devices and then using the exploit that, is well known to get onto these devices and then shut down the botnet, which is new. You don't typically see the government given authorization to just log into any device that's infected. It'd be like the FBI logging in your computer because they see you have a virus and cleaning it up. Just doesn't happen. So that's kind of the unique thing about this story is I think, the U.S. government's definitely taking a stronger stance here, saying, listen, we have some experts here who can help out. We're from the government. We're here to help.
There's a side story here about VPN Filter that from a story in 2018, it infected 500,000 Soho devices.
Yeah.
This and I like the headline is "From Russia with Love." But it is a 2018 article about VPN Filter. So these Soho devices are a real problem.
Well, they're cheap.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'd say, yeah, they are. And a lot of times people don't think about it. Like, how often, other than the three of us, because we're technophiles, right? But how often do people go and change their routers and firewalls out?
Right.
You buy it. If it's working, you leave it. And it may be 10 years old or 15 years old, right? Which means it's completely vulnerable, may not be configured properly. Whereas the three of us swap them out all the time.
I'm swapping a firewall and I've only had it for 3 months. I'm swapping it.
Well, not only do I swap them, but, the very first thing that I do is change the admin password.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
If you just
disable
leave it
remote admin.
What the?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What are you doing? Come on. You can't do that. All right. So be smart, kids. And here's another be smart story from the Hacker News. Italian businesses hit by weaponized USBs spreading cryptojacking malware. And by USBs, I think they mean USB sticks, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. And this is another one where
bumblebees from the United States.
USBs.
No. USBs. No, it's it's interesting because we talk a lot about phishing, right? And we talk a lot about people infecting your Wi-Fi and people, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And I think we've kind of lost focus on the fact that physical devices are still a great way to breach a person's data or an organization. Right? Sprinkling infected USB keys in a parking lot still works. Heck.
I have customers in the studio.
Yeah.
And I make it a requirement that they buy a brand new USB hard drive and bring it with them every time they come to record. And that's what they record to. And then they take it home.
Yeah. Yep.
And, and I say, look, I don't want you to put this on your own computer. I want you to just keep it and bring it with you every time you come in for a session so that, you're in ownership of it, but it's also clean.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great practice because the problem is you have no idea where those USBs have been, what they've been plugged into.
Mhm.
There's a lot of similarities to other things in life I won't go into, but you definitely want to make sure.
You might have a dirty Stuckstucker.
The Weinstucker. So I do, like, interestingly enough, I do have
Almost had a family show. Almost. Came close, so close.
almost just so close.
I did that for Patrick, but, you know.
So
in
I
German.
do have, I actually picked up a device from Off Grid, which is a USB to USB. It's literally a pass-through that I use to charge my phone in airports and that sort of stuff. And what it does is it disables the data lines. So if I plug my phone charger into it, I can plug into any USB and I can make sure I'm not going to get affected. So
All right, I need a
Does
link
that
to
work
that
against
right
an OMG
now.
yeah,
to
they're
put
super
in
useful.
the show notes.
Nice.
It does. Yeah. Yeah,
What did
because
you
there's no
say?
data
It
There's
lines.
a
was
on your
cable
PC.
that we use where if I left it out and you used it, we'd have access to your phone.
Yeah, and access to your PC. And that's the more important part because your PC I can route out to the internet, but this would block the data lines.
It's Hack 5.
All right, and so that device is called, as Dwayne said, the Off Grid USB 3.0 Data Blocker Pro. It's $20. We put a link there, or you can just go to offgrid.co. Okay, so that's that. Be careful what you stick your USB into, kids. Hacking into a Toyota/Eicher Motors insurance company by exploiting their premium calculator website.
So this is a quick one. It's just about you never know what unintended consequences you're going to trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in this particular case, insurance company, they want to know what the premiums are. You know, you as a potential customer can come in and look at the premiums. But unfortunately, all that data is being submitted to a database. And if you can poison the form, which in this case they could get it to then retrieve data for them, like other users' passwords. So you want to be careful what data your forms have access to. This particular one looks like this was what's called an SSTI, which is a template injection. But SQL injection, template injection, those are two of the things that are probably the most common things you need to look out for when creating forms taking in data from users.
So be careful. So that's our overriding advice here. Okay, we have come to our clickbait story.
Dun, dun, dun.
The mother of all breaches. Now, for those who don't remember the Gulf War, I know Patrick does because he was there. Saddam Hussein called this the mother of all battles has begun. That's what he said. Remember that, Patrick?
Yep.
And I think that was the first time I ever heard the mother of all, but I guess that's kind of like a thing.
And then we dropped the mother of all bombs on him.
The Moab. Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
The Moab, Patrick, being our military expert, is that the daisy cutter or is that not?
It's a descendant of the Daisy Cutter. The Daisy Cutter was like a shipping container full of explosives that we used to drop in Vietnam to clear out jungle, triple canopy to land helicopters. And then in the Gulf War, we dropped that on several locations. I think 5 of them were dropped during the Gulf War, including on the Obstacle and several Republican Guard battalions that ceased to exist shortly after. Or immediately after.
Oof.
all right. So everybody wants to know, was this as bad as it sounds?
No.
No. Yeah, and it's funny
Okay,
too.
you've been listening to Security This Week.
So here's
We'll
the
see you
thing.
next week.
Periodically, all the old breaches of 10 years are consolidated together into one big dump and they're put out. And when they contain 5 or 10% more, new material, they're a big deal. This one doesn't seem to have anything new in it, really. It's just a reorganization and a reconsolidation. So if you take Have I Been Pwned, Troy Hunt, our friend, has been meticulously gathering that stuff for 10 years plus. This probably has most of that stuff, if not all of that stuff, in one place that you can just download. That's what makes it interesting. If you wanted to suddenly start making a hacker database, but it's so big now, it would be a big chore. It'd be a long road to unpack this and to deconflict it and stuff like that. So it's a big deal because it's kind of like when the source code for a ransomware gets released. There's ransomware source code out there that you can get, but if a new one gets released, there's more attention. There might be more newbies that take advantage of it. Same thing here, but there's no materially new hack data in there. There's not a new hack that no one's ever seen. there doesn't even seem to be a lot of new stuff in there that people haven't seen recently. So it's really just a reconsolidation.
Okay, and some of it is really old, as you said. But one thing that I liked in this article here in cybernews.com is that there's a list of websites that you can search to see if they were, breached. So, but it doesn't tell you if those were old hacks or new hacks.
Right. And I think most of them are going to be old. I mean, this happened before with the combo list. Years ago, somebody went and grabbed all of the breaches, put them together in one combo list, and then put them out. And everybody was all a Twitter about it. And it really was just breaches that were out there. Somebody made it a little bit easier to grab.
Yeah, and like the Cyber News data link checker is just, have I been pwned, maybe in a smaller package, or who knows. I know Troy does a really good, meticulous, long-term job of getting these. He was the first one I ever heard of doing that. So I'd still trust have I been pwned more than, these other ones. Honestly, you could create a data leak checker from this leak. That's the point.
Right.
But you'd need a lot of database.
Right.
Yeah. How many terabytes was it?
26.
Something like that. 12 terabytes, 26 billion records.
Yeah, I think it's 26 terabytes. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
When you open these things up, a lot of times you find a lot of unreadable characters and formats. It depends on, this might be better, but I haven't dug into it myself.
Call the intern. They're going to be busy for a while. All right, guys. Well, it was a little, how should we say, a little bit of a letdown, maybe.
Wow. I did.
But you had fun,
Missed
right?
you guys.
Yes, always. I know. It's been too long.
You too. All right. We'll see you next week with Bells on. Bye-bye.